Boniface Mwangi is here with us this morning.
Good morning.
Good morning to you, and how are you doing?
Sijalala enough.
How many hours?
Maybe 4.
Maybe, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we're going to talk about some of these things today. Presidential aspirant, as well as, active citizen and concerned citizen about the things that happen in the country. I mean, that's not, that doesn't ever come into doubt. Well, before we get into the conversation, our proverbs this week, Bonnie, come from Kenya. Mm-hmm. And I've been looking at different parts of the country and the proverbs that they've shared. This one is a one that is in Swahili. And according to Joe, I did not butcher the Kiswahili before. So I'm going to try again. Mtaka cha mvunguni sharti ainame. Mtaka cha mvunguni sharti ainame. Are you laughing at my Kiswahili?
No, your accent is not bad. Yeah.
Whoever wants something under the bed must bend down. Whoever wants something under the bed must bend down.
So basically, there's nothing that is worth getting that doesn't require an effort. So for you to get anything you want, you must put some effort in it, and then you get it. So basically, it's like if you're looking for change, you must fight for it because it will be served to you on a silver platter.
There you go.
Yeah, boy.
You won't get it easy. So yesterday marked the second year of the Gen Z 2024 protests. And oftentimes, I think we lose direction. And I say we because there's so many thoughts that come in. But the truth of the matter is that the issues that were raised that brought hundreds of thousands of people into the streets were issues on the economy. There were issues on infrastructure. There were issues on governance and accountability. There were issues on good governance. But it was whittled down to young people misbehaving in the streets. And 65 of these people died at the hands of violence, however you want to look at it. And so 2 years later, to commemorate that, people wanted to come and lay wreaths and flowers at Parliament and say, this is where people died. But the ghosts of that protest still linger, and that people are still saying these issues still. With the commemoration that happened yesterday, even before we get to the ghost towns and all of that, with the commemoration that happened yesterday, has it put to bed these issues? No,
the issues are actually very, very key at the moment. If you look at the current finance bill, it was passed by 122 members of parliament, and 189 boycotted going to parliament. So basically, even the current leadership is scared of what will come after this year's budget, which means that the anger that began 2 years ago is still there, and basically translates to a scared government.
So the streets were shut down. I mean, we were coming to work really early in the morning yesterday, and we were already met by the roadblocks at that hour. And prior to that, it was clear from all, announcements that it was going to be a normal day. That there was no public holiday that was going to be granted. Schools were going to be open, banks were going to be open. Nothing else was open. Ghost towns, wherever you looked.
So the government spoke tough, but they knew through the intelligence, they knew that there was not going to be any business going on in the country. So basically, there's, I think Kenyans themselves have told themselves that June 25th is a national holiday. So they know it. And they also know that every time there's June 25th comes around like last year, the police just deploy to ensure that people don't march, because people who were in the streets on June 25th 2 years ago still want to go back to parliament to remember those that they lost. So there's it's the government speaking tough, but at the same time knowing that no matter what they do, this day will be commemorated forever.
Wow. And first of all, we still remember loudly what transpired June 24th. A lot of people have different kind of opinions. Some say it was just an event and it came and went. But also others believe that was the beginning of a revolution that is going to transform this country to the country that we all desire. And like the proverb goes, we must put in the work.
Yes.
If we do not keep reminding ourselves of the evils and the wrongs that we want to end, chances are they'll continue to prevail. Now, so they have the desires of the people, and then on the other hand, we have the constitution that guides us on how we need to manage our country.
Yes.
And from that constitution, we have created a government. Because the government is not supreme. It is there to serve us.
Yeah.
Now, they spoke tough, as you rightly put it. And they say it's going to be a normal day. So people prepare to go to work, as you normally do. Only to wake up and realize the police showed up for protest. They decided to protest before the people.
Yeah.
But you see the oxymoron of it.
Yes.
So it begs for the question, like, moving forward, because Sabasaba is coming.
Yes.
And we still have 2027 coming up. The people are organizing and saying, we are ready to reject anything that does not serve our interest. We are ready to reject anything that is resources that are deployed against our interest.
Yes.
That's why people call for austerity measures.
Yes.
Do you think those in office are hearing? Do you think they're feeling the pain? And do you feel the Kenyans are fully now united with a common interest of transforming this nation?
So the people in power are not feeling the pain of the Kenyan people, because if they felt, they would actually communicate as much. They enjoy the pleasures of our taxes, because austerity measures are for poor people and people paying taxes, but our government does not care about reducing salaries for the presidency, the executive, members of parliament. Even the parks are still there. They're the same guys who are going to travel to Mombasa on a first-class ticket, which is an hour flight, and pay so much money.
Right.
But the question about unity is a big concern for me, even as a presidential candidate and as a Kenyan, because there's a lot of dog whistling in our politics at the moment. There's a lot of tribalism. There's a lot of where our leaders are trying to take us back into tribal cocoons. So 2 years ago, there was a movement in this country that was tribeless, partyless, and leaderless. And now the politicians are saying, no, you have leaders. Kikuyus have that, Luos have that, there's this particular person is your leader. So there's them forcing issues on us, saying that they need to define how young people do their politics. Now, if young people can be able to override those kind of negative politics or ethnicity politics, then there'll be unity to transform this country. But if we fall into the trap of tribalism, then Kenya is not going to be saved in the next 1 year in the coming election. So right now, politicians are going to what they know best. Right. They know tribalism, they know violence, they know intimidation, and they know lying. That's where we are at. That's why you guys have been doing a season of lies, because it's going to be lies everywhere. Now, can young people see through that and vote for who is in their best interest, who's going to fight for them? That has to come. So basically, I think we're going to go back to like basic civic education.
Right.
Is that there's no community that is born with a leader or a king. When you choose your leader, you're not choosing a king, and you're not choosing someone to represent your entire community. You're choosing someone who represents the best interest for you as an individual, not for you as a community. Yeah.
I'm going to ask you something, Bonnie, and I think it's time we put this thing to rest once and for all, and essentially put it to bed, because the issues of, you were in the street yesterday. You were there in 2024. You've been there, and I remember. The first time I came into contact with the work that you took pictures around 2007, the massacre that happened, and some of the pictures that you took remain. I think I have a collection of some of those pictures, and to kind of remind people about how we should never go there again. But you've been accused over and over, and this is not news to you, of being a commercial activist.
Yes,
and those accusations, even as late as yesterday, are there. Like I said, let's put it to bed once and for all.
Yes.
Are you a commercial activist?
What is a commercial activist?
I don't know.
Let's unpack. What is a commercial activist? Explain. Is it like
somebody who goes out in the streets because somebody is putting some money behind that activity to ensure that you rile up, number one, emotions. You make the government of the day look a certain way. You may not need to do that too much without help. But that, that there's money in your pocket to be out in the streets to dodge injury in one way or another, to make it look as though you're concerned about these issues, but you're on the take.
All right, it's first laughable, but I'll make an attempt to engage you on this particular issue. So I've been doing this for about maybe 20 years, half of my life, fighting for this country, and no one pays me. And if the government knew I was getting paid, they would tell you who pays me. I think one of the things that the government has been able to do very well is tag those people who do the work we do as commercial activists. I don't think activism is a job. It's a calling. So I normally have a job. I sell land. I'm a photographer. I run a studio in Nairobi. Like, I do many things that help me earn a living. But I do not do this for money. I think if I was doing this for money, I would have sold my soul to the devil, who happens to be Ruto.
Okay.
Because he has more money. But the other thing is, if there was money coming, that tag of commercial activism, if there was money, I was being paid to do what I do, they would actually stop the funders. You know, the government runs the banking system, which means if there's money coming to my account for a particular activity, they would say Boniface Mwangi received 10,000 shillings to do this activity, and this money came from this other person. But also, people think that the West cares so much about this country that they can actually invest in activists. They care about business interests, so they invest in Ruto. The Muzungus, you think, invest in me, they invest in Ruto. Ruto is the one going to all those capitals of the world, begging with a begging bowl, asking for them to give him money. And also, the commercial activism tag came when we went after Ruto and Uhuru and they were going to the ICC. Because you are saying these people committed alleged crimes against humanity, rape, murder, displacement of people. Then they said, no, it's NGOs telling us we killed people. But people died. And there was funding in that violence. So basically, to murky the water, they say that. But if I was earning because Ruto kills, then Ruto should stop killing people so I don't earn. Ruto should stop arresting people so that I don't earn. So they try everything and they say commercial activism. What is that? And where does that money come from? They should tell us. And and Kenyans who believe that people are getting paid to go to the streets, those Kenyans are foolish as well. Because the truth is, if there was money being paid, everyone would be in the streets. Because about 6 out of 10 kids in this country don't have a job.
Right.
And that's why they are goons. But there was money coming that it was a lot, they would actually be doing that as well. So the government is trying to unpack my life and see, how does this man make money? How do we try and discredit him? And they say commercial activism. But if you ask them, what does it mean? They can't tell you what it means. It doesn't make sense. But maybe it helps them sleep better at night knowing that they've discredited me. But the truth is, at the end of the day, time reveals all truth. Eventually, we shall know the truth. Yeah.
And you've been involved. I mean, I've also you've been involved in some causes that remain in the minds of people for the longest time about things that should not be. Remember coming out and covering a story about the children at the school in Langata who were tear gassed that day because there was some grabbing that was supposed to happen on their school that would then curtail where they were able to play as children. I mean, going out and talking about the fact that members of parliament cannot be, I mean, I think the term MPIG started with you.
From that time, yeah.
That cannot be in the house where they're supposed to be legislating, oversighting, budget making, and they're not actually doing that. So it has been pointing out ills that people should be aware of. What do you think people ought to do then with that information? Because beyond the being in the street, because the day ends. I remember another conversation we had and you said, you were feeling a bit scared that day and you were not sure if you were going to come home.
Yes.
So beyond being in the streets, then the fear and the high octane adrenaline being there, you come home and you still sat with the issues. So what are people supposed to do at the expense of that inertia? Where then do you point? Where do you point towards the solution to say, okay, guys, we've done it because you needed to feel it.
Yeah.
You have to be emotional about something then to be able to change it. So then we felt the emotion. Now what do we do with it?
So we need to use our anger in a productive way. We need to use our anger to hold our leaders accountable and use that anger to transform our country. And how do you do that? You realize that every single person in office today is elected. You have a lot of people who are appointed, but they're appointed by those who elect. So basically you have to ask yourself as a Kenyan voter, what is the problem that ails our country, our community, our village? I know it's best place to replace the person who is the problem. Because my concern is that the anger we have does not last till an election, or the anger we have is buried by our tribalism, where we just whitewash anyone because they come from our community. And it concerns me that if we do not deal with tribalism before the next election, we're going to have a very tribal election. Because I'm part of the opposition in this country. And I've been in rooms in this country in the last couple of weeks, perhaps, talking about unity in the opposition and all that. Then you have some entitled old man saying, I want 50% or 60% of this government because I'm going to bring this many, many votes. But I'm like, you're bringing your own vote and maybe a couple of people. You can't come and say an entire community belongs to you, because it does not. So Kenyans need to start saying, mimi si wa mtu. I don't belong to anyone. If you belong to anyone, maybe your wife or your kids. Because this thing of somebody's grandfather or mother or father walking around saying, I'm carrying an entire community. You're not carrying an entire community. You don't eat at your house. You do not do for us anything apart from roaming around this country talking about this and that. And the same thing applies to the president. Actually, the person can actually say he's carrying the entire country. He's the president. Because apart from him being elected, we give him the entire budget to run this country.
Yep.
So for him, we can actually say we're supposed to ride on his back because he's the one carrying our money. But any other person who is running around in this country saying, I want to get elected, should actually say, what is the best interest for this country? And so the mess you're in right now is that, one, citizens are apathetic about the electoral process. They are apathetic about holding their leaders to account. And they're pathetic about what's happening in this country, because their apathy is like to teach lesson 2027. But you can teach someone a lesson next week by shutting down a country like we did yesterday. So there are many things we can do, but let our anger transform this country, because if we do not change Kenya in the next 1 year, we cannot afford another 5 years of Ruto. Kenya will be gone forever. And you guys are a good example that because of speaking truth to power, you can't pay your employees because the government cannot pay you. So this person is using public coffers to punish a private company because he doesn't like how they write the stories or how they air the stories. And that's pettiness of the highest level from a president. And that's hurting many, many lives. But he does not care. So from Mr. Petty President, we have to ensure that you don't elect more petty politicians in this coming election. So let your anger transform this country.
Right. And I mean, there is no doubt, I think, in most of the Kenyans on that we need a change of regime. People say Ruto must go, and must go he will. Because on 10th of August, we are 55 weeks away. It's not very far. But the outgoing president, Ruto, will not be in office on the 11th of August by the virtue of the collective will of the people, sovereignty of the people.
Yes.
But then what? Because I look at it this way. The injustices we are facing, the tax injustice, the odious debt, the collapse of our whole health system, education system. Today we are talking about people washing clothes and utensils along the shores of Lake Victoria. A woman gave birth outside a hospital in Tana River. Is it Tana River?
Yeah.
Those things, Ruto will not take them home.
Yeah.
So Ruto goes, which is good for the country.
Yeah.
And then what?
So Ruto goes, and then you have a country that is going to be run on rule of law. Constitutionalism, a country that can be able to say, let's audit our debts from the last 15 years and see the money that we borrowed, where the money went. A country that is going to go after people who have looted since the devolution came into place. A country that promises to ensure people who commit economic crimes are prosecuted, and if possible, they're hanged in public to deter people from stealing from public coffers. We just need to imagine a new country. And 2 years ago, actually, the Gen Z imagined a new Kenya. There was a feeling that Kenya can change,
right?
That the leaders that you have in power can be accountable to the people. That was the dream of the Gen Z, and that dream has not died yet.
Still alive.
And we hope that we, the millennials, and the parents of millennials, baby boomers, we're not going to betray the Gen Z spirit. Because if you betray the Gen Z spirit, and you vote along tribal lines, and you elect the same people, same forests, same monkeys, or different forests and monkeys, Kenya is going to be gone forever. Kenya cannot survive this reckless kind of leadership. A leadership that doesn't care, a leadership that lacks empathy, a leadership that never serves the people, that is just self-serving. Kenya cannot afford that for another 5 years.
and I do agree with you on that one. So the question then becomes, do you feel from where you stand the civic education gap is shortening? Because if we're able to imagine the new Kenya, the birth of a nation that we want, the ideals that we want to aspire to and manifest through the ballot, we are able to imagine that. But the only way to effect that is through the ballot.
True.
The Constitution has provided a clear path that we have the voting process, which is coming up in the near future. But do you feel the voter has begun to awaken to that realization that, your tribal kingpins, today they're saying they're kingpins, but they're not solving the problems. Your kingpins are serving in the cabinet, but you're still having the problems in the ministries that they serve in. So are Kenyans realizing that kingpins, tribal kingpins, are not the solution? The way you say that some old man coming and saying, you know what, I'm going to bring this block of votes, so you should give me this much share of the government. Are we realizing that we are responsible for giving birth to that new nation that we are imagining that began in June 2024?
So we have been so neglected as a country by our leaders that we don't see that we have that power.
Right.
So we need to first believe that Kenya can change and that we can actually elect a new leadership. So that belief place, we're not even there yet. But also you have to realize that people who, because of the way politics is run in this country, they did not vote in the last election. Almost 8 million Kenyans. Right. How do you get those people to say, we're going to vote this time round?
And vote right. Not just vote, but vote right.
Yeah, vote right at the same time, right? Like if there's going to be a competition between the devil and Satan, look for the angel that you don't know and vote for that angel, So that's where we are at. It's going to take a lot of us speaking at the same time. Okay, let's first dream of that country. And once we have that, envision the country we want, then let's sell that dream, with the Gen Z sold us actually, that the leaders can actually work for us. If we're able to do that, Kenya will change. And remember, you're going to be going against the machine of politicians who have benefited from tribal politics, who have so much money to pay people, who will also try and buy votes, who will try and reward their cronies, who will try and say one side of this country is going to vote for me. So you're gonna be going an entire system that has worked for a very, very long time. So the question is, can the progressives who are in politics like me work together and sell that dream and tell Kenyans how that dream is going to be realized?
Before we get to the place where we are saying, okay, so what does that Kenya look like? That there was an expectation yesterday. Did the commemoration yesterday fulfill what it was supposed to? To say that, okay, yes, we came out and we, remembered those who died, and then hopefully remembering the cause that Kenyans are fighting for. Did it achieve what it was supposed to achieve yesterday? And was there something more that needed to happen?
There was an achievement. It was a national holiday. That was a good achievement. But there was not that remembrance that we wanted to happen because the government shut down the city. People wanted to come to the city, light candles, lay flowers, visit parliament, but it was on lockdown. The entire city was on lockdown. So that wasn't achieved. And then the other thing is that there was a promise last week that the mothers are going to get paid. And families are going to get paid. They haven't been paid. So there's that lie that there'll be compensation. That is not happening yet. And also there's a feeling of the government just discarding or destroying the constitution, because yesterday 3 things happened that are very illegal. Number one, the barricades. You can't put barricades without notifying the country. The barricades were illegal, number one. Number two, there was police officers wearing camouflage clothes and masking their faces. That is also illegal. Number three, the government arrested 355 people yesterday across the country. People who are not committing any crimes. So basically, the government broke all laws: the right to protest, the right to gather, the right to assemble. And that means that we have not progressed from 2 years ago. The only thing that we can actually celebrate, no one died. So it is actually possible for people to go to the streets the entire day and not get shot dead. So basically that was a win. That yesterday there was a respect of the right to life. but everything else was broken down. As in, the government is so scared of young people gathering together that they locked down the entire city. So basically, if the roads were open, the borders could come to the city, the cars could come to the city, I guarantee you it could have been an entire full city of police, of citizens protesting without any looting. Every time there are goons come with the police. So we can't celebrate what happened yesterday. Like, the police broke every single law. But also, it shows that the government is very insecure. Parliament was shut down. State House Road was surrounded by police. So basically, Ruto is a scared man.
Well, they did turn the country into a ghost town. And which, contrary to the provisions of our constitution, they know the right to picket.
Yes.
Actually, we were expecting that people who were coming out to commemorate their safety will be secured by the state machinery. Unfortunately, that was not the case. But, before we went on a break, we were talking about the birth of a new nation.
Yeah.
And I would want to imagine in this new nation, Boniface Mwangi will not need to come out to the streets, because the desires of the country, the ideals of the nation will be manifesting. So what will that need to look like for you to feel that indeed what you have been protesting for and on for the last 20 years, it's a build-up, it's a culmination of events. You've put your life on the line. I'm sure you've lost opportunities. There are things.
True.
There is a cost to it.
Yeah.
But for the last 2 decades, for the last 20 years, there is what you've been desiring to see.
Yeah.
How would that country look like that would make you sit back and say, I can now hang my boots, the proverbial statement?
So when the freedom fighters fought for independence, they fought for land and freedom. And this country, we have a lot of people who are still squatters in their own country, squatters in their birthplace where they were born. Ancestral land belongs to a family or a few individuals, or it's a conservancy, or belongs to some remnants of the colonial descendants. So we need to look at the land issue. That is number one, primarily the land issue. We need to be able to ensure that everyone has a piece of land to call home. The other thing that Jomo Kenyatta declared when he got independent is that we're going to fight against disease, poverty, and ignorance. And I think 63 years later, there's still disease, there's still poverty, there's still ignorance. But the fourth thing that we have as a country that is a cancer is corruption. So how do you deal with those four things? So to eliminate disease, we actually need to ensure that healthcare is free and accessible to all in the entire country. We want to ensure that you have doctors. There should not be any unemployed doctors, because we don't even have enough doctors. So employ doctors, ensure that there's medicine in every single hospital, and hospitals have the equipment that they need. And how do you ensure that you have medicine? There's a lot of generic medicine that can actually produce as a country. There's no sense of a government buying Panadol for 20 shillings when you could produce it for 1 bob or 2 shillings, right? So ensure that is done. And then we ensure that in every single hospital, doctors clock in and clock out. The same way you come to work and clock in, clock out, you can do that. And there's also a patient history. How many patients did the doctor see? So you don't have a culture where a doctor comes and hangs a coat, goes to their private clinic. That is one. Number two, education. We'll have to standardize all schools in this entire country. That the schools in Turkana, the schools in Tana River are the same, Lokichogio and Lamu, standardized schools. Labs are the same, libraries are the same level of teaching class. Like, everyone is standardized education in the entire country. That you're going to deal with ignorance. The poverty problem that this country faces is because, number one, there's lack of education. You're educating your people, and your people, you're dealing with the disease problem. But also the energy thing. In this country, energy is too expensive. So companies come to the country, they can't be able to produce or manufacture because energy is too expensive. Invest in clean energy, geothermal, make energy cheaper. Now, the reason these three things are not happening the way they're supposed to happen is because of corruption. Because everything, that's the anchor problem in this country, that every single project in this country is 50% of that money goes to entrepreneurs and as kickbacks. So eliminate corruption. And how do you do that? You need to jail people who are corrupt. You need to be able to start a clean slate. One of the things that I thought about as a thing we can do as a country, that when we get elected into power, when I get elected into power, that you give guys a moratorium. You say, let's do 6 months. Return everything that you stole, and just, let's say, you're forgiven, and you can just disappear from the face of this, of leading this country. Like, just do a moratorium, because corruption fights back. Let's just say you stole and maybe you gained from this thing. Maybe you stole land 40 years ago, like some people that we know. You've been earning from that land for the last 40 years. Just give back the land and just disappear. If they fail to do that, then you use the full force of the law to go after them. So you just say, we're going to start a new country without revenge and without vengeance. You say, day one, you have from day 1 to month 6. Return everything you have stolen, no questions asked, and let's now start a clean slate as a country.
Yeah. As I listen to you list those things, it just seems like there's so much that needs to be done. That just from sitting here thinking that we see the issue that a woman gives birth outside the hospital, it is a representation of the bigger problem. That women are washing their laundry in a lake is a representation of a bigger problem. And that people are getting sick because you've been told that a river and the products, like the fish, for example, that they test and they see that that river or that lake has high levels of chromium and nickel, and that comes from the waste that is put. Do you see where I'm going?
Yes, I see where you're going.
And that's just social. We've not even started to tackle things like the bigger health issue, the education issue. That things just seem, but the attention that's being paid is not to those things that are guaranteed for protection under the Constitution. There seem to be so many balls up in the air. Is it possible to handle all of these things and to do them right? Is it possible? Because sometimes I sit and I find myself saying, maybe they just can't have a handle on this thing. That's what the problem is.
It's very possible. So the men and women in our country are in the minority. We talk about water. There's about 20 million Kenyans who don't have access to clean water. They get water from the river or boreholes, and the water is not clean. So give everyone clean water. That is actually doable. We're talking about pollution of rivers and lakes, and even the river here. The people who pollute the river are known people. For example, Nairobi River can never be clean if you don't have a proper garbage disposal system. Like if you don't recycle the garbage and have garbage collection systems, people are going to get money, collect garbage, throw it on Nairobi River. If you don't have a proper sewerage in the communities where the slums are, people are going to put their waste into the river. Those are basic things to do. Let me tell you, cities have been built for thousands of years.
Yes, correct.
Rome had 2,000 years ago. Rome had water ducts in their cities. So there's nothing new that needs to be done. What you have is actually a drought of leadership. That the people you have in power do not fix public problems. They just ensure they have private solutions for their problems. So, for example, there's a pipe that goes from the Abadeas. I went to claim the Abadeas. There's a pipe that goes from the Abadeas that was built during the colonial times that goes straight to State House. So State House will never have a water problem. You see that? So he doesn't know there's a water problem in the country, because when he opens his shower, he can shower and there's water, right? You find that the reason why education is such a mess because all our leaders, me included, take our kids to private schools. So we don't have to fight for public schools to be better. If I'm sick, I don't have to go to a Kanjo hospital to queue. I just go to a private hospital and I get treated. And to make matters worse, even the employees of the county government of Nairobi and other county governments have private healthcare. And there lies the problem, because why would the county government of Nairobi pay 2 billion shillings for private healthcare instead of using 2 billion to build a hospital for them, and then they can serve other patients, It's just a problem. Uhuru Kenyatta began schooling in a public school, Lady Northie. It was a public school. But his father messed education so much, he had to go to a private school. Ruto is a product of a public school. So was Kibaki. There were days that you could take a child to a public school and then people get education. Today, public schools are getting 87 shillings capitation. What do you do with 87 shillings? Do you buy a pencil or an exercise book? Basically, we have run down this country. But at the same time, improving the lives of our politicians, because when you walk around this city or around this country, you tell you, oh, that hotel belongs to that person, that car belongs to that person. You have seen their flashy weddings, or the helicopters in that corner, oh, they belong to this person, or that plane, this person, because they are looting public coffers to enrich themselves. And it's a very... Do you know you don't get remembered for your wealth? You get remembered for your impact. We don't remember how much Kibaki owned, but remember what Kibaki did. Remember this. Kibaki came as president. On day one, he said free primary education. There was no World Bank, there was no IMF, there was no new budget, and everyone went to school. That means some of these things are doable. We just need a change of leadership. However, as a country, if we make the mistake of electing survivors of past regimes as the new leadership, nothing is going to change. Things are going to get worse. And then the Gen Z will ban this country, they will ban those politicians, they will ban those kids, and we'll have no country left. Because the anger they had 2 years ago is still there. It's still simmering. And they're trying to direct towards electoral process. But if there's no electoral justice, and there's an attempt to rig this coming election, 2007 will look like it was a birthday party, because these young people are more militarized. They have seen other things. They have 2007. There's no internet. You could not be radicalized. Now it was very kidogo internet. Right now, anyone in a village has access to the internet. These kids will ban this country. I guarantee you that if some of these politicians think they can get away with what they've done in the last 63 years, they're wrong.
Does it have to go that way?
It doesn't have to go through the violent way, but those people who make peaceful change impossible are going to face a violent revolution. So everyone has to do their role. IBC has to ensure that they do their role and they don't play monkey games on the voter register. And they don't give people who don't deserve IDs. The politicians have to be very careful with the rhetoric, because sometimes they think they are arming goons to harm other people, but those goons can see that they're being used. They can harm them actually, right? And thirdly, as parents and as responsible citizens, we must be able to engage in politics that is not harmful, and in politics that is not divisive and is not fighting. There's no violence. I want to be able to go to a UDA rally and heckle UDA or ODM or Kweli Party rally without being harmed. We must remove violence from our politics to avoid anarchy and violence in the coming election. But as long as people are being allowed to have goons, I can guarantee you there'll be tit for tat and there'll be violence.
Wow. Well, but I like that there is an option, that if we start a different operating system, we can change the political fiber. We can have a different outcome.
True.
We don't even need to show up in our opponent gatherings or meetings to heckle them. We can simply not show up. If people also decline to be mobilized, to be paid to show up, that is also a statement, because protesting has different faces and different forms, and you know this. And unfortunately, sometimes we are cowed to think that it must be violent. It doesn't have to be. Yesterday, the commemoration may not have happened in a manner that we anticipated, but I think the Constitution also won. The people are beginning to win. If we say tomorrow that also we need not show up for whatever reason, whatever agitation we have, and we don't, and the day ends without a single loss of life, for me personally, that's a win. And then we need to continue making these advances in also organizations and institutions where they matter. People have rendered the National Assembly illegitimate because they are failing to represent the people. Now, even though we are going to have a new president on the 11th of August next year, what do you say to now all the subsequent representation at the county assemblies, at the National Assembly, the appointment in the various agencies and ministries? What do you say to that? Because, yes, we know the buck stops with the president. The leader of the pack determines the quality. If you look at the hunting of the wild dogs, the leader of the pack determines the success of that hunting activity. But how do we speak to now other cadres of representation? Because also we still bear the same responsibility of holding them accountable. So
for example, health is devolved. So if you don't have medicine in your local dispensary or local health center, it's because of your member of county assembly. So you need to know who is your member of county assembly. In terms of how much money is spent on our national budget is your members of parliament. Actually, if you had some mature members of parliament, the 189, I think, members of parliament or 88 who boycotted the vote can actually come to parliament and impeach Ruto. You don't have to wait for 5 years to remove Ruto from power. You can actually impeach a president. And so we have to ensure that the quality of the people we elected to the National Assembly, to the Senate, to county assemblies are of good caliber and good quality. Unfortunately, the way our politics is designed, it's so lucrative that you attract the worst of the worst to get into politics. And how do we get the worst of the worst? So the worst of the worst have committed a lot of crimes and they have a lot of money. And the best way to get 24/7 protection is become a member of parliament, because the government assigns you a bodyguard. And then you get a siren, and then you get access to power, and you can also corrupt the corridors of power. If you get arrested, you can say, oh, it's political
witch hunt.
So there's a lot of that. So that's why you find that there have been billionaires accused of being drug dealers becoming politicians and getting elected. There have been people who are called gold scammers getting elected. People accused of being land grabbers getting elected. Like the refuge you run to when you have money and you're a criminal is politics. So chapter 6 is not respected at all. But at the end of the day, it's not that person gets to buy the vote. Now, if you refuse to sell the vote, you won't get the worst of the worst into parliament. So Kenyans who vote and who know that they sell their votes must stop selling their votes, because when someone bribes you to get elected, it's an investment for them. So we, the voters, are to blame for the quality of leaders we have. No one else. It's the voters. Because rarely do we get someone saying they rigged the entire election. But the same voters that you're saying that don't have access to clean water, there's no medicine in hospital, are the same voter who despise poor people. I think people who get elected into parliament and they're poor is like maybe 20%. The majority who get elected have money. When I ran for office in Starehe, people considered me very poor. They even despised me. Someone is living in a slum without a toilet or clean water, and they despised me because I rode a motorcycle and came to ask them for vote. Someone in maskini sana, wasn't this idea? And I know I'm not supposed to say you. I'm supposed to go and represent you in parliament. But like, uja toa kitu. That is the problem. Voters want to be paid cash for their votes. I'm like, no, don't sell your vote. When you sell your vote, you're selling your future. So there's work to be done, man.
Do you reckon Kenyans know who the leaders are, or who the would-be leaders are, who would actually make an impact for change and to actually ensure that things are running? Do you think that Kenyans know?
No, they don't.
They don't?
They don't.
Why?
I think because if you look at the people that the media platforms every day, you platform the same faces every day. If you look at a news bulletin, it's the same faces every day. So when there's a presidential race, you say there are 2 horses and others are donkeys and goats. That's the problem, right? That you do not give the same weight to everyone. It's understandable, because when a dog bites a man, that's not news, but when a man bites a dog, that's news. But at the same time, you platform people who should not be platformed every time. The reason why some politicians have big heads, because even when they say bad stuff and things that are harmful, you still platform them. We need to find an alternative way of creating new leadership in this country. We need to show people who are doing the work in this country. There must be a way. I don't have the answer to your question, but I think there's a way to get out of this malaise.
So Kenyans have an opportunity to vote next year. You talk about, almost 8 million people who didn't vote, then who didn't get an opportunity. Many also say that them not voting is also an answer that they give. But the ballot requires you, in order for us to count it, it requires you to cast it.
Yes.
Right? And be counted so that you can know who the person is who's going to come into play. Things like voter apathy has been thrown at us. I don't know whether we're bringing us a lot of these things into place. IEBC says that the campaign period is between May 29th and and August 7th next year. So before that, anything that's happening is not campaigning, okay? Now, are Kenyans more embracive or are embracing more this situation of, okay, I've realized that the connection between sound leadership is the decision that I make at the ballot? Are we getting there? And if not, what needs to happen for Kenyans to be in that space?
So about 10 years ago, or maybe 12 years ago, when Uhuru was elected, he fought all the NGOs that were doing civic education. They were deregistered. IFS, all of them were deregistered and kicked out. So basically, there's been a deliberate dumbing down of voters in this country. So that's why there's no civic education. Because remember, when you voted for Kibaki in 2002, there was Vijana Tugutuke.
Yes.
Where people are being given civic education. But now, organizations that actually do civic education are not able to do that anymore. And then when Trump came into power, USAID closed whatever was left in this country. So basically, people who do civic education should be the IBC, which is government, and then NGOs. NGOs don't have the money and they don't have the funding to do it. And then IBC is funded by the government, and the government will not fund a component that is going to remove bad leaders who happen to be in government. So now, civic education is left to guys like Demba and Willie Wemba who are doing Nikokadi. So it's citizens saying, you know what, nitumie za fare, nikapige shughuli hapa, nifundishe watu kuhusu civic education. But assuming that Kenyan celebrities and leaders who care about a better country can take the initiative to educate voters, that would actually help, because these celebrities have big platforms. You guys have a platform every single day, and you can make civic education your agenda every day. Like we should not allow ourselves to feel like just because ABC is not doing it, that we can't do anything about it. So we must do something about it.
Indeed.
That's correct, because bad leaders are elected by people who don't vote. And 30% of the people did not show up.
True.
Now, last time. And then only 30% voted. So you see, when you do the numbers, you realize
actually apathy won. The people who did not vote were more people than the ones who elected Ruto. So
we need a paradigm shift, and how I wish that in time we can grow to that.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Boniface Mwangi, presidential aspirant, as well as an active citizen, a concerned citizen. Thank you for being here in this conversation today.
Sandy.
Looking forward to more as usual. Good morning.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.